Are we on?
We're ready.
Council special meeting agenda for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 at 6:30 sharp. Roll call.
Councilmember Crawford. Aye. Councilmember Felina. Absent. Councilmember Hornish.
Aye, here.
Vice Mayor Nunn. Said aye.
Here.
Mayor Amoruso.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Can everyone stand for the roll call?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the approval of the city council special meeting agenda for March 25, 2025. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I will say it again. Seeking approval for city council special meeting agenda for March 25th, 2025.
I move to approve the city council special meeting agenda for March 25, 2025.
Second.
Councilmember Crawford.
Aye.
Councilmember Hornish.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nunn.
Aye.
Mayor Amoruso.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
So I'll open up this point, special meeting public comment is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Any written correspondence or emails?
No written public comment.
I recommend, Mayor, that you do the staff report, have some council discussion, and then take public comment on this item.
Just going by.
No, I know, it's just listed there as the notice regarding the special comment,
Okay,
so, that you can take it at the time you would any other item.
great. So, staff reports, please.
So the item before you is the law enforcement services agreement with the County of Amador Sheriff's Office. And this is after almost a year of negotiations back and forth with the sheriff and the undersheriff. And the ad hoc committee prior to the election met with them, and then after the election, the new ad hoc met with them. And the price went from the initial letter requesting 423, 427, jumped up to 750,000. And we ended up landing at the first year of $387,500 with a 5% increment each year, ending in the fifth year with $471,009. And on the dais, I handed out a sheet of paper from the finance director showing how it can be funded. He feels the financing is very doable this way, and showing that there is a general fund liability and that increases each year. And he believes that the general fund can handle that payment. The draft agreement in your packet went through several iterations between the sheriff's office, our attorney, their attorney. I think it's in a very good spot. It is, I believe, the best agreement we're going to get at this point. We did ask for some last minute changes that we were told absolutely not. I think that this law enforcement services agreement is a good agreement compared to the previous agreement from 2005. And staff is recommending approval of the agreement, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, I will open it up for public comment in the room. Anyone want to speak? Any written correspondence or
There's no written public comment for this item.
All right. Well, we're at council now. I'll start with Wendy.
Start with something.
Sure. Or not, I don't.
Thanks, Wendy.
Sorry.
Fund 81, the ZR Public Safety Fund, how much money is in there right now currently? Total.
It says on this sheet.
Is that current, is it the data from last year?
Oh.
That's what I was wondering.
We haven't spent any out of the public safety fund since that,
That would be, this is at a minimum or
pardon me?
it would be the amount listed here, as
Yes.
a minimum or more, okay, thank you. Now, right in a second.
Yeah, so one thing to say on it is, I kind of came in pretty late to the game on this, and didn't really ever get a chance to be part of the negotiation with the sheriffs in person or anything. I basically, being able to meet with Peter and the city manager, told them a couple issues that I had with the contract. And they relayed to the sheriff's office the changes they don't want to make. And you know, one of my concerns is that has been addressed is on the contract, you know, since we have funds going down every year on some certain things, whether we'd be able to pay this in the 5th year. And I see that we can renegotiate at some point. But one of the big issues I have with the contract is that it really doesn't spell out what we get for the increased money. So, which I know this contract is very old and what we're paying is not nearly, you know, what should be now. But there's here in section C of 11, general provisions of services. If you read that, it says counties required to provide an exceptional or significant higher level of law enforcement service to the city beyond what is customarily expected under this agreement. Both parties to agree to engage to discussions and assess the scope and impact. And then so the purpose of these discussions will be determine a fair and reasonable adjustment to the city's payment obligation. Well, the only problem is we don't have a baseline because the sheriff's office won't put in writing, you know, how many hours, say, of patrol we're getting a month or what we're paying. And nobody's trying to pin them down to that. It's just that my biggest concern with this was, okay, we're paying this money. What's the baseline? What will you try to do with it? 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week? And I mean, nobody's gonna be standing out there watching, and some weeks it might be more, some weeks it could be less. But they refused to give any type of a baseline of what our services are. But then they did put in that they would charge us more if we exceeded. I'm like, but what do we have to gauge this on? We don't have any baseline of what we're getting for the services. And that was one big concern that I have with the contract. So if anybody has anything else to say, that's kind of where I'm at on it. Like I said, I never got to talk directly with them on this. It's kind of, I feel like it was kind of over negotiated by the time I came in, but I do think that the former council members who were up here got us a long ways. I know they spent a lot of time on it, and I appreciate what they did. So if anybody has anything to say on that?
So I can kind of give you, I mean, when I talked to Gary, he did mention that it would be a very high level service, but again, you know, there was no number attached to that, you know, so I'm not sure what that means, but I've seen them, assume that they would meet or exceed what they've been doing all, you know, long. I would maybe imagine even probably players, they're getting paid more, so I don't know. That's without asking him directly.
Yeah, I understand that. I was hoping to ask him directly. I thought he was gonna be here tonight, and
Unfortunately, he said he was sick, so.
okay. And yeah, I mean, I feel that the undersheriff or somebody could have shown up to address this, because my thing is, my issue is that the citizens are gonna say, okay, you agreed to, you know, basically $300,000 a year more 250 starting out, and you're paying all this money, but what do we get in return for putting out all this extra money? It's basically, if you look at this contract, really doesn't spell out anything we're really getting more. And, so that was the big concern I had, is just give us a base to work off of, just what you can expect for the money you pay. You know, you're gonna get the minimum of this much, that's what I wanted, that's been my biggest concern.
Quick question. In our old contract, I didn't look at that recently, so I can't vouch what it's in there. Did it give any level of service in the old contract, or was it vague like this? I didn't know what that was for so long ago.
It was,
Actually, before me.
it was pretty vague to my recollection. And the reason these numbers are high is because costs have gone up so much, and the 5% increase is because their costs in providing the service goes up. And the 5% increase doesn't even cover the costs of what they are taking on each year in their cost increases to operate. Their benefit packages to their officers and their pay increases to their officers go up more than 5% each year. We are not even covering what they're having to pay their officers to increase to patrol us.
And I understand that, and I agree, inflation has gone way up, and there does need to be an increase. So I'm not complaining so much on the price of what we want to pay, all I'm getting at is, you know, we're saying, well, the old contract didn't have it, we'll just do the old contract, probably should have had that. All I'm saying is, that concerned me, and just bringing up concerns to people, that concerned me that, okay, if we might get charged more 1 month because something happens, where are you based that from? You spent how many more hours? Because you don't, they refuse to put like a baseline on any type of hours or what they're giving us.
Well, I mean,
And so-
again, I can't,
Yeah,
without him here, what I haven't gathered from some of our, go through some of the conversations that would be, if there was a homicide in town and they have to throw everything at it. You know, the whole office, the DA, other entities coming in from out of area, you have to work with them. So I would assume that that's kind of what that means. That would be extraordinary.
That was my
Yeah, so-
understanding as well.
Reading, for the purposes of this agreement, examples of extraordinary services may include but are not limited to response to civil disturbances, riots, large scale protests, on and on. So I'm assuming that is it.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think too much of an issue with this contract because it's on a rolling basis, yearly. The other party can
Yeah.
Again, there was another.
Or we can
Then we've got
negotiate.
go back to the negotiating table.
Yeah, in a year or two, if we need to renegotiate.
Yeah.
That they're willing to meet with us to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've read it back and forth several times, and all that, I just want to simply bring up that that's what's been my concern, the contract. You know, so that you guys know, because we were in an ad hoc, you guys didn't know, it's been a few weeks that I've been on it. At one, but I joined the committee, that was one of the big things to me.
I have a couple questions. What were you previously paying to the sheriff's department yearly?
$100,000.
And the Zinfandel Ridge committee, the ad hoc committee hasn't met yet, correct?
Correct.
So do we know for sure what we can use out of that fund if we haven't detailed out police versus fire?
There are currently no dollar or percentage.
I know there isn't, but what I'm saying is the intention is that there will be. So, right, I mean, that's,
We don't know the intention. Our fire costs a lot less than our police.
yeah, I know. I guess what I'm getting at is we're using the Zinfandel Ridge fund here as part of paying for it. So,
But they also haven't paid
Because it is
anything into it
earmarked for
in
that.
9 years.
right,
So they have to pull forward a little bit on payments.
okay.
Well, they have paid what,
They,
rest of the
we haven't
citizens of the
paid.
county pay, did they, you know, they pay it, well, there's measure in funds and stuff that are generated by their tax revenues and stuff. So we can't say they haven't paid nothing in, everybody in the county pays something in, provided.
Yeah, he's
Buy
saying
anything.
for.
Yeah, I know, I'm saying out of the fund, I know.
He's saying out of this fund, no money has been
Yeah.
spent
Yeah,
for
no money's been
anything.
spent on it.
I know, I understand that, I was just saying about that they haven't paid it. Yeah, out of the fund, there's not, and I brought up in the
Well,
past.
property
we need
taxes, yeah, that's
To
all.
figure out, we need to figure out. At some point, and now we have an ad hoc committee to do it, at some point we need to figure out. What's gonna be spent on that.
Yeah, that was all I was bringing up is that I know that there at some point needs to be decisions made budget wise about how that fund is gonna be used. So I guess we can use back funding to fund this first year and figure that out as we do our budget
Yeah.
meeting.
Yes, and we're not proposing to spend all of the back money either.
What were the things that you asked for that the sheriff's department said absolutely no to?
Putting specific hours in the contract for
Kind of like what Dawn was
patrolling
asking.
and that.
I don't know.
They don't include that in any of their contracts. Because if there's an emergency somewhere,
They
that's,
can't guarantee
they
that.
can't guarantee it.
I believe that there, another stipulation, they were asked if we could do a 1-year contract, if we brought that up. Bringing up, doing it for 1 year for now, and when we figured out our finances,
Right, and they weren't interested in that.
they were not interested in any 1-year contract, they insisted that we agree to the 5.
I've got one more question, please. Going forward on fiscal years 25, 26, and onward. On the fund 81, which is ZR safety, you have the line item that says ZR reserves. What reserves exactly are we talking about
The public safety reserves,
that is approved from ZR in safety?
right, from the past 9 years of public safety.
Okay, and so for the ongoing, ZR safety ongoing, the $40,000, that will be coming from the current fund balance?
That will be from the current year paid into, when you pay your property taxes, that'll be the current amount for the current year.
And so then the reserves refers to the current fund balance? I'm a little confused on the terminology here, because how do we know what their reserves are and what they're used for?
The reserves currently are 249,987. And those are the reserves that we're pulling from.
It's not really reserves, it's just money that's not been spent. Is what it is. It's the money, it's just bad,
It's fund balance.
it's just the fund balance. I
Thank
think
you.
you're getting thrown by the word
The
reserves.
reserves, correct. Okay, thanks.
And one other question, you were saying that we've been giving them just $100,000 so far,
Correct, and
Yeah,
that's,
cops.
and that's all been cops money.
and it's cops money. And then, but when I look on the sheet here, it says current annual funding available 160, and my only question is, if we had 160 has been available, I don't understand, we haven't been giving them that full 160?
No, that 60 has been going into the fund, and that's why we have fund balance.
249.97,
Right. and
use a
so-
one-time source.
Right, and so we have that to pay for a few years to backfill the extra money.
Okay, I just didn't understand why we hadn't in the past, we've been given 60
I don't
coming in.
know. I don't know the answer to that.
I might know, what was the question then?
Well, the question, when you're looking at the funding source availability, I don't know if you have a copy of this, it should have been available for you on the table. It says current annual funding available 160,000, and then it lists an ongoing funding source, it lists that there's 250,000 in an account. But city manager is saying we've only been given the sheriff 100, so my question was, that if we've been receiving 160, how come we haven't been passing all of that on to them? And this is something that's probably gone on for years before our current city manager, so I was just wondering if she'd answer. Seems like if we were getting $160,000, why didn't we just turn it all over to them since they did all the law enforcement? That's my question.
I do know, just real quick.
Yeah.
I do know a little bit about. I do know a little bit about where that money comes from, and I think it's important for you guys to know, get off the scene, so the COPS is 100,000 straight. And that's what we're paying. There's also like leftover money, it all comes from vehicle license fees and a couple other sources. And so the state looks at it every year and says, oh, we have this much of a surplus, we'll give, we'll divide that up amongst the COPS recipients. So we've received, forget what it was, between $40,000 and $80,000 a year, give or take, for the last maybe 8 years. So it hasn't been an always thing, it's been the last 6 or 8 years, I think.
So it's not a guaranteed
Yeah, and
amount.
it started at like 20,000, but the state told us, I sat as a citizen advisor on the first ad hoc committee, the state told us that. You can expect it to be 50 or above, is their forecast per year at least, so. It's in there.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Carter,
Thank you very much.
I think that was very helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We did buy the sheriff's department 2 patrol vehicles fully equipped. And we did buy those 2 trailers that you see out and about for the sheriff's department. Those are actually owned by the sheriff's department, but they don't want to use them, so they said we can use them as much as we want, so that's why you see them out and about here. So we did pay for those out of that extra money.
It was part of that was also part of COVID money, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
No, that was
Was it COVID?
that was paid strictly out of that excess money.
Gotcha.
Okay, so. All right, so in the future, we actually have just right there, $150,000 or $160,000 to use towards this bill. Okay, because I had been in the past, thinking we only had 100 from the cops to use towards the bill, so that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're still pulling though. Every year over 100 grand from the general fund. And. Our budget this year. Well, last year's budget, I mean, we were a deficit of 70,000. So.
This is a general fund expenditure.
Yeah.
Andy wanted me to make sure the council knew that this is a general fund expenditure. We're always going to need to spend money out of the general fund.
Yeah.
To pay the sheriff's department.
Okay.
So, with that being said, I had great conversations with the sheriff and the undersheriff. They were always very forthcoming and, willing to talk and, were always very clear. So I mean, I never got a phone feeling that, I didn't have clarity in our conversation. So, that being said, the reason I called for this meeting is that we theoretically our contract's up the 1st of April. When I texted this morning with Sheriff Redmond, he said he was sick. I asked him when he had to take it to the board of supervisors. He said that would be in 2 weeks, so that's kind of why we met tonight, was to get this wrapped up. If there was any, I don't think there's really any change because they were pretty clear, this is what it is. So we either accept it or we go out of contract. So there's really no other options for this because they need to go forward with. Yeah, this has already been accepted by county council also, so the state ran this through county council and it was approved. So what we're looking at is an approved document. Ready to go to the board of supervisors. So that being said, that's all I got. So if anyone has more conversations, we can call to the question.
I brought up my concerns, we've talked about them, I don't really have anything more to add if anybody else does. Thank you.
I don't have any concerns at this time, I would like to move forward as well.
Looking for a motion?
Verbiage.
Greg, what's the verbiage?
We can just make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Okay,
And then read 4.1.
I make a motion to approve the law enforcement contract as presented.
And then read the header for the 4.1. That gives all that information. on your front page. You don't need to? Okay, never mind.
We've already introduced the article.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug.
See you in a second. I'll second.
Councilmember Bradford? Aye. Councilmember Cornish?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dunn?
Aye.
Mayor Amoruso?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you guys very much. And with this,